Okay, good evening, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. So, today we are going to start with a new unit that is okay. Just a moment, I think it's mirroring my screen. I'll do one thing, I'll just share my screen first. Okay, yeah, great. So, today we are going to start with a new unit that is human growth and development, right? And if in any case I'm not audible or my voice is low, just let me know. I hope all of you are able to hear me, right? Just give me a thumbs up or just,
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah. Okay, great. So today we are going to talk about human growth and development, which we commonly call as HD. Okay. HD is your unit 7, and this is the entire syllabus for this. Now, the reason why we are going to start this unit immediately after family studies is because you will be able to find similarities in family studies as well as this particular unit, right? Now, what do you mean by human growth and development? So, simply, see, the moment a child is born, till that particular child grows old and finally reaches senescence, that is, reaches death. Okay, that whole journey is covered in this particular unit, that is your HD unit, wherein we will be talking about what is growth, what is development, what are the principles of growth and development, how are both of them different in nature, right? And what is prenatal development, what is neonatal development. Apart from that, now just like in development communication, we had various theories and models, right? Similarly, for this particular unit, there are certain theories which we need to memorize, but trust me, not very difficult, because when you are starting to read more about this unit, you will find an element of psychology in it, right? So bit of psychology is also integrated in this unit, which makes it really interesting. And then we are also going to talk about the different stages of human development, like infancy, then childhood, then adolescence, what happens during adolescence, how does learning take place, the influence of our social groups, peer influence, etc. And then we will move ahead with adulthood, what is the study of adulthood known as, and when we enter into that adult age, what are the different responsibilities, okay, for each and every stages of adulthood as well. And finally we will reach the last stage of human growth, that is aging. So again, very very simple, like what are the physical and the physiological changes which take place in aging, and what are the special needs of the elderly people. So in short, these are the 9 subunits which we are going to cover. And the 10th subunit is, again, as I mentioned before, it's going to be a separate part of our statistics, right? So let's do one thing. Like, I mean, if you have your laptop or your tablet or phone in front of you, this particular PDF has been uploaded on a Google Drive. So if I say something like any keywords, or if I mention anything new, all of you can just make a note of it, or write it there and then, right? So let's do one thing. Let's start with the topic. Let me see how many of you have joined already. Okay, I can see 10 of you. Okay, great. So I'll do one thing so that there's no disturbance. I'll switch on my camera first. And just a moment. Yuvika, can you please switch off the fan? Okay, right. So there was some disturbance from my end. Now it's gone. Okay. Now, first, let's talk about growth and development. Okay, anyone tell me any difference between growth and development? Do you think they are the same thing or they are different? What do you understand by these terms? Anyone? Like, if I ask you what is growth in one word, what will you tell about growth? What do you think?
Ma'am, growth is um, like a sudden change in hormonal or like puberty, and
Mm-hmm.
development is like mentally.
Mm-hmm. Mentally, okay. Okay, okay. Anyone? Okay,
Maybe
very good, Ramya. Yes.
growth is physical and development is physiological.
Okay,
Or
growth is physical, development is physiological. Okay, and what do you think that, so when we go through the different life cycle stages, we acquire different skills, right? So that acquiring different skills and abilities, is it a part of growth or is it a part of development? Any
I
idea?
guess it is
Hmm.
development now.
Yes, it's a
Development.
right, it's a part of development, right? So now let's understand in simple terms what is growth and what is development. See, when I talk about growth, okay, now all of you must be aware of the growth charts which we use in nutrition, in public health, right? So growth is something, for example, when a baby is born, and I mean, if you have seen a child grow, you will see, you can see the baby grow taller, you can see the baby gain weight. That is growth. So growth is something which you can visibly see. It's like a quantitative increase in the size, weight and height of the body. So these are the three things in which you will see an increase. Okay, the increase in size of a person, increase in weight and increase in height of the body. So growth is something which we can actually measure quantitatively. Now when we talk about development, now see, one a very good question on assertion and reasoning which they can ask you for UGC is that development is your quantitative changes, like as one of you mentioned that, yeah, like whatever physiological changes are taking place, so yes, you can count that in development. So yeah, the quantitative changes, but when we grow, we all know that we acquire certain skills, we acquire certain abilities. So that is the qualitative part, that is the qualitative changes which we go through. So in short, growth is quantitative in nature. On the other hand, development is both qualitative and quantitative in nature. So this is the key words you have to keep in mind, the terms quantitative and the term qualitative and quantitative. So quantitative is something which you can easily measure, but qualitative is something which you cannot exactly measure, like you cannot find a particular numerical value for it, but you can see these qualitative changes as well in a baby or in a child when he or she is born. Now very simple example I'll tell you. Now for example, a baby initially learns to sit, how to sit, and then the baby initially learns how to crawl, then eventually the baby will learn how to walk. So all these changes, crawling, okay, then sitting, learning, I mean walking, then maybe running, all of these changes are the qualitative changes which are taking place. All of these changes are basically the development which is happening. So in simple terms, if I talk about the definition, then development is a progressive series of orderly changes which are directional in nature, which means, now again, when we go ahead with this unit, we will study that first there is an infancy stage, right? All of you must be knowing that first there is an infant stage which all of us have gone through, then we enter our childhood, then we enter adolescence, then we enter the adult stage, right? So again, development is a progressive series of these orderly changes which will happen in a particular direction. So that is directional. So development is directional in nature, and these changes are sequential changes because they will come across through different stages which we will be talking about, right? So I hope this is clear what is growth and what is development. Now, this is again in our syllabus, that is, what are the key principles of development. Now, very simple principles. You have to mainly focus on cephalocaudal and proximodistal, and then we'll be also seeing how UGC has given us questions from these topics, right? Now, the first principle of development is the cephalocaudal principle. Now, if I look at the term cephalocaudal, okay, cephalo means head, okay, and caudal basically refers to toe, right? So in simple terms, I have to remember from head to toe, that development is known as my cephalocaudal development, which means, now again, just take an example of a baby. So when a child is born or when a baby is there, so at that particular time what happens is that the development is taking place from the top of the body. Okay, the development is taking place from the top of the body, then downwards, which means that first the baby will gain a control of their head and neck. Okay, and then gradually they will learn how to control their arms, then they will learn how to control their legs, and then they will eventually learn how to walk. So this is known as your cephalocaudal development. Now if you have any doubt, any question in between, okay, just let me know, just stop, okay, don't hesitate to ask anything. This is known as cephalocaudal development, that first the head control will take place, and then eventually as the baby grows, the baby will learn how to walk. So that is head control before walking. Now, another principle of development is the proximo-distal. Now, again, let's break down these words. Proximo means center. For example, this is my center. Okay, this is the center, and from center, when I'm moving outwards to my, I can say to my extremities or to the outward side, that is my distal. So, proximo-distal development means that your development will proceed, it will move from center of the body, okay, outward to the extremities. Now again, for example, first the baby will learn how to control their trunk area. Now again, I hope all of you know what is a trunk area, right? So for example, I'm just making it to make you understand, this is the trunk area. First the baby will learn to control their trunk area, then finally their shoulders, and finally you know uh, they will learn how to move their fingers. So if you just look at your fingers, okay, so your fingers are your extremities. So this is the principle of development known as proximo-distal development, that first center of the body the baby will gain control, and then finally to the extremities. Now why am I saying a baby again and again? Why? Because we all know that when we talk about the stages of a life cycle, first you have that infancy stage, and then in that infancy stage we have a baby who first learn how to control their head, and then finally they learn how to control their toe. They first learn how to control their trunk, and then they finally learn how to move their fingers, how to move their their toes. So this is the two principles of development, very very important for our examination, and we'll see the questions which come ahead. Now, coming to the third principle of development, that is the principle of continuity. Now, what is the principle of continuity? Very, very simple. See, again, right now, also, like if we are, all of us are in the adulthood stage. Okay, from adulthood stage, we will maybe reach the late adulthood, and then finally, the older age group, right? So development is like a continuous process which is happening from conception till death, right? So again, it means that development is starting from the day we are conceived until the day we die. That which means that the principle of continuity takes place in development. So again, very very simple. Next is again self-explainable individual differences. And definitely see, the rate of development will vary from individual to individual, right? So what happens is that, if you must have seen sometimes in our like in our neighborhood or in our relations and all, when there's a child, so let's say that there are two children. One child will learn to walk faster, whereas the other child might learn to walk a bit slow. So again, the rate and pattern of development will vary among individuals, right? So which means that we cannot say that whatever pattern of development is seen in one particular child will be the same in another child. No, both of them are different. Everyone will reach their milestones, their development milestones, at a different rate or at their own pace. So that is what we mean by that there are individual differences in development, right? Now, next important principle is your sequential development principle. So, as we talked in the definition itself, the development involves sequential changes, means that development follows an orderly, you can say, rate. Now, what happens is, now you only tell me. So, do you think that first a child will learn to stand, or first a child will learn to sit? This is again development. A child will follow an orderly manner. First, a child will learn to sit, right? Then the child will gradually learn how to walk. So this is very much simple to relate if you have seen a baby, in your home or in your relation. So you can relate this particular development to that particular context. So, yes, development will always follow an orderly and predictable sequence. So, now let's look at one question which I'll ask you, very, very simple, which came in 2022 examination. Okay, so can anyone answer this? The question says, which principle of development states that development proceeds from the center of the body outward? Anyone?
Proximo-distal.
Proximity.
Proximodistal, right, exactly. So it's again the proximodistal stage of development. Let me show you one more question. Okay, just a minute. Slide number, I guess, 18. Okay, yeah. So this question I'll be giving to you guys. Just let me remove the answer. Yeah. Now, this is a really good and important question which they gave in UGC examination. Now, here they have not, directly asked you, like, from center to extremities or from head to toe. They have given you an example that a child can hold a glass of water before he and she could button the shirt. Okay, so this example holds true for which of the following principles of development? Now, I'm not asking you to answer this right now. First, go back and again read the notes and then think about it practically and then try to answer. But yes, it was a quite a tricky but interesting question which they gave once on the principles of development, right? So this will be shared with you after the class ends. Okay, one more question. Let me show you. Okay, so there is again a question where they have asked you directly that the development which takes place from the top to bottom, that is known as what? So from top to bottom, it's known as cephalocaudal development. So again, please make sure you know these key principles which are again important, right? Now we will be talking about the stages of human development. Now again, very very simple, not very difficult. What we have to do is. Firstly, prepare ourselves for match the following questions. Okay, wherein they will give you a particular stage and they can give you a particular characteristic of that stage, right? First type of question. Second type of question they can give you to match the age groups, right? Now, though they haven't given so far to match the age groups, they can definitely ask you the age group for adolescents. Now, in many of the textbooks, including Arihant, the age group is given 12 to 18 years, but minded we have to follow the WHO age group criteria for adolescents. Now, so firstly, before starting this topic, can anyone tell me what is the age group of adolescents recommended by WHO? Anyone? Any
10 to
idea?
19 years.
Yeah, I can hear
10
10
to
to
19?
right,
19.
10 to
right.
19.
Exactly, very good. So 10 to 19 years. Even this question they have asked once, and obviously, because all of us are from nutrition, we know that WHO states that 10 to 19 years is the age group for adolescents. Now, why I'm telling you this is because in many of the textbooks they refer to this particular age group, which is not wrong, but again, we have to be familiar with both of them, right? Now let's start with the stages. Now the first stage of development is your prenatal stage. Now what is the prenatal? Okay, natal is when you are born. Okay, prenatal means before your birth, which means from conception to birth. So remember this age group. Okay, conception to birth. Now in this particular stage, this is the time where, in the mother's womb, all the organs are formed. And I'm very sure all of you must have read about pregnancy, okay, in human physiology and nutrition, or even in class 12 biology, we used to have that topic, right? So organogenesis is the key characteristic of this particular stage, where all the organs are being formed in the mother's womb of the child, right? And yes, so now does anyone know what are teratogens? I'm sure you all must be knowing about it. It's a nutrition question. Anyone? Teratogens?
Ma'am, this causes tetanus.
It is?
I mean, it causes tetanus.
Hmm. Okay. See, yeah. So a teratogen is basically, it could be any infection, you can say, any chemical or any particular substance which will interfere with the normal fetal development during pregnancy, and this teratogen can result in a birth defect or in abnormality, right? So basically any particular agent which can cause a congenital abnormality at the time of birth, okay, or maybe in the fetus itself, that is known as your teratogen, okay. And we will come to this particular term again when we come to our nutrition unit, because there is a question on this. So yes, this prenatal stage is the stage where the mother is actually vulnerable to these teratogens. So these teratogens can come from alcohol, from tobacco, from drugs, even from, like your you must have heard of warfarin, right? So even from some medications, these teratogens can come. So yes, in this particular stage, the mother as well as the fetus in the mother's womb, both of them are vulnerable to teratogens, right? This is your first stage, that is the prenatal stage, okay. So this is just a mnemonic for all of you to remember. Pika, Pika, you can remember. So all of you also know about Pika, okay, in pregnancy. So just remember this Pika. P is the first stage, that is your prenatal stage. Then comes your infancy stage. See why I'm asking you all to make these mnemonics, because when you we go through the syllabus and we come across different stages, different models, it becomes really important to have a memory of what all stages will come after what. So when you make a mnemonic, it will really help you remember on the exam day, right? So next is the I of my Pika is for infancy. Now remember the age group of infancy. Even in nutrition, we have talked about. I mean, we all know about it, that infancy is a period from 0 to 2 years of age, and in this particular period, other infant will have rapid motor development, sensory development. So this motor and sensory development takes place in your infancy stage, right? Now after infancy comes the childhood stage. Now they have divided the childhood stage into two parts. So you have an early childhood and then you have a middle childhood, right? Now, early childhood is from 2 to 6 years. Now, see, if you look at these numbers, these age groups, trust me, it's not very difficult to remember if you remember them in a sequence, right? So, 2 to 6 years is your early childhood. Now, in this early childhood stage, this is that stage, where the child learns how to speak a particular language. So may it can be English, it can be Hindi, it could be Telugu. And in this particular language development stage, which we will talk in detail when we talk about a theory as well, so you will see the child will first blabber few words. It takes time for the child to speak a complete sentence, right? So again, this particular early childhood stage is marked with language development and by egocentrism. Now, again, egocentrism, we will talk in detail in a theory given by Piaget. But I'll just tell you, egocentrism basically means that particular stage, when the kids, they often see the world only from their point of view. Okay, egocentrism means only me, when you're just thinking about me. So in that particular stage, children don't know what is right, what is wrong. Whatever they see through their eyes, or through their own view of point, that is correct for them. This is known as egocentrism. So don't worry, we will be talking about this in Piaget's theory. Next comes your middle childhood. Now, middle childhood is from 6 to 12 years of age, right? Now, in this particular stage, the key characteristics of development are that now the childhood, the child who has entered 6 to 12 years of age, now this stage the child will learn how to do the basic arithmetic. Okay, concrete operations means the basic maths. If you give him two apples, and then if you give him one more apple, he will know that okay, there are three apples which I have. This is the meaning of concrete operations, basic maths. And you must be knowing, during this age group we often teach children like tables, okay, two table, five table, or we teach them basic arithmetics, how to add up things, how to subtract things. So these are the skills or the abilities which the child learns. And peer interactions, yes, definitely. During this particular stage, the child will go and interact with their friends. Sometimes they pick up habits from what they learn from their surroundings or what their friends are doing. So that is a peer interaction stage which comes into picture, and it is more prominent in the middle childhood, right? Now, so this is the C of your pika. Right now, the first A of your pika is for the adolescent stage, and the last one we'll talk about is the adult stage. Now, in the adolescent stage, now again the age group for adolescents given by WHO is your 10 to 19 years, as many of you said it correctly. But if you go by this table, again 12 to 18 years is also the age group of adolescents which is acceptable in our country. And in many textbooks we mainly refer to this particular age group. But if they ask you in exam about the age group given by WHO, so remember it's 10 to 19 years, right? Now, again, in this adolescent stage, this is the stage, we also call it as the teenage, right? So the child or the teenager, they first of all they reach a puberty stage, right, where there is physiological growth as well as emotional changes in the teenager, as well as there is identity formation. They finally they finally realize that who I am, what are my viewpoints, etc. So there is an identity formation at this particular stage. Now, don't be confused by reading the name of these two person, because this table will be really very helpful when we finish all the theories. Then all of you will be able to understand that how this table is related to those theories, right? So again we'll be coming back to this, but I'll just give you a brief view. So Erikson and Freud, both of them gave their own theory on adolescence. Okay, that what are the different stages of adolescence, cognitive development, psychosexual development, etc. That is why these two persons' name is mentioned. But we will be talking about these theories separately in detail, right? For today's class, at least remember what all key characteristics are there in different stages. Now, after adolescent stage, I have my adulthood stage. Okay, now adulthood has been classified into three, you can say, stages. There's one early adulthood, then there is a middle adulthood, and then there is late adulthood. Few textbooks also mention this late adulthood as the old stage. Okay, the old age state, that is 65 plus years, right? So now early adulthood is from 18 to 40 years in this particular age group. So if you can relate with this, during, like, I think all of us are in our early adulthood stage, right? In this is a time where the individual is more focused on career choices. The individual is focused on forming close relationships, okay, be it with anyone or their family. This is known as intimacy. Now, what is isolation? So sometimes also happens that during this particular stage, many of the adults, they feel lost, and sometimes they even feel like going in isolation. But the actual meaning of this stage we will learn in a theory. So as I told you, all of these terms which you can see: egocentrism, concrete operations, puberty, intimacy versus isolation, and the other terms given below. So those of you have already read this unit, you must be aware of it. These are a part of a theory given by someone, which we have to know comes in which particular stage of a life cycle, right? So that is why, don't worry if you see these terms. When we cover those theories, then you will be able to relate to it. But in simple terms, just understand that in early adulthood, an individual is more focused on career, on friendships, relationships, right? Family. Now, next comes the middle adulthood stage, that is 40 to 65 years. Now, see, this is the stage in which people, they tend to evaluate their life. They tend to evaluate their life choices, okay, and they also focus, because mostly the individuals, when they get married, they have their children, and their children also grow old. I mean, they basically develop more. So now in this particular age group, the middle adulthood age group, the people, they are more focused on contributing something to the next generation. Okay, so they go through their own life evaluation. That is the key characteristic which we find. And then there's a term known as generativity versus stagnation. So again, all of this you will only be able to understand when we talk about that theory. But for the time being, just remember that these two terms you will find in early and middle adulthood, right? Now, so what do you mean by generativity versus stagnation? Is again the same thing, that the individuals, they focus more on contributing to the next generation. And what is this versus this, I'll tell you when we come to that particular theory, because if I talk about that theory now, it will be confusing for you, right? Next is the late adulthood stage, also known as the old age group, which is 65 plus years. Now again, in this particular stage, people, they again, so they are reflecting on life. And also, in this particular stage, there is a cognitive decline. You must have seen people, they often suffer with memory loss, and sometimes, even some conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. And they also feel a bit lonely if they are not provided with enough support. So this is again a different subunit in our syllabus, where we will be talking about how to provide support to the elderly, and how to help them, prevent this cognitive decline. So again, this is what you can see over here, integrity versus despair. This is again a part of another theory which we will be discussing. So for the time being, if I talk about the stages of development, first thing all of you should know are the correct order, which is very much important. Remember the pica mnemonic, right? Next is the age group. It's not very difficult. All of us know the age group for old people is 65 years. Some textbooks also mention it as 60 plus years. Okay, both of them are correct. But this is something which we have taken from the genuine textbooks itself. And next thing, you should know the age group for infancy, 0 to 2 years, and what are the key characteristics you will be finding in each of these age groups, right? So I hope this is clear. If you have any doubt in this topic, please ask now, right? Any doubt in this topic? Okay. Now, this is one question, okay, which I'll be sharing on group with all of you. This is a type of question which they will give you, wherein the stages are mentioned and the development which occurs in that particular stage is mentioned. Now, there must be one term known as object permanence, which might be new for you. I think symbolic thinking, all of us can relate fine. Identity search, just now we talked, identity formation takes place in adolescence, where they are, identifying themselves. Okay, who I am, what are my likes, what are my dislikes, or maybe even thinking about what do I want to do in my future. They are very confused, very confused stage. It is the adolescent stage, right? Mastery of arithmetic skills, as I mentioned, concrete operations. I'll even write it over here so that you remember this key term, is arithmetic skills, right? So some textbooks mention concrete operations, and in few textbook they just mention your this thing, your arithmetic skills, right? Now, object permanence is again different. So, okay, first of all, does anyone know what is the meaning of object permanence? Anyone? Those of you who are aware of this unit, any idea what is object permanence? Okay. So see,
Ma'am,
please tell.
is it like they would understand that the particular object exists
Mm-hmm.
even if they are not able to see it?
Right, right, exactly. I think this is Samyukta, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, see, now I remember your voices. Yeah. So yes, see, object permanence is something which takes place, in the baby's brain, wherein they think that a particular thing, okay, or a particular object, it still exists. What do you, so try to break down the terms? Okay, permanence means permanent, so something which still exists, they think. And they think that, okay, even if I can't see it, still it is there. Now again, I will tell you this with a very very simple example. So when there's a small baby, we often play hide and seek with the baby, right? So when you cover your face with your hands, a very small baby will think that you have disappeared, right? But later on, they will laugh or maybe they will giggle because they know that you are behind the hands. So that is the meaning of object permanence, wherein things will still exist. The baby will think that a particular object is still over there, even if I can't see it right now. This is something which takes place in a baby. And again, another example is, so if you have interacted with a small baby very very well, you will be able to relate. So what happens is that, if let's say there's a toy, baby's favorite toy, which you put it under a cup, okay. At first the baby will not search for it, but later they will definitely, take out that cup to get that particular toy. So again, the baby's brain thinks that, if I can't see it, like even if I can't see it, if that object is not in front of me, it is still there. That is what they think. Okay. Now if you are still confused in object permanence, don't worry. Again, this term is going to come in a particular theory where we will talk about it in detail, but in simple terms, if you want to understand, then this is like the beginning of memory development, which takes place in a baby, in which the baby will think. So this concept of object permanence, it was given by a very famous psychologist, okay, that was Piaget. Again, the name which is mentioned over here, right? So Piaget gave this concept, and there he told that the baby will think that a particular object is there, even if that particular object cannot be seen by me, or I cannot smell it, or I cannot touch it, or I cannot hear about it. So that is the main theory of object permanence, which was given by your Jean Piaget. So we will come again to this theory. But yes, this is the type of question which they have given, wherein you have to match these stages with the development which takes place, right? Now let's talk about the factors affecting human development. Very very simple topic. All of you will be able to understand this. First is the biological factors, right? So what does this biological factor include? Now in biological factors, definitely we know that heredity, right, our genetics, okay, sex, the gender, okay, hormones, nutrition, all of these play a major role in development of a child. Now if you look at a few babies, they take time to develop. You all must be knowing, so there are stunted children, right? Stunting, we all know. So what went wrong in those stunted children could be their heredity, could be their nutrition, or maybe hormonal balance. So in short, all of these are your biological factors which will affect human development. Even genetic disorders, so we will be, also talking about the genetic disorders, because there are questions that UGC gives. For example, Down syndrome, I'm sure all of you know, chromosomal anomaly in 21st chromosome, right? We have read about this in our 12th class textbooks, right? Science textbooks. So there are different genetic disorders which can affect development, or even if there is any problem in brain development at any particular stage, that is again a major biological factor affecting human development. So again, very very simple. Next comes environmental factors. So definitely, the environment around which we are, it plays a major role in our development. Our family, okay, where you are living right now, so where you live, the place, okay, your social economic status, your own culture, the people with whom you hang out with, okay, parenting style, education, all of these are the different environmental factors which affect human development. Now what you need to know is that which factor comes under which heading. So environmental factor के अंदर you have your education, peer influence, okay, parenting style. Under biological factors you have heredity, hormonal balance, nutrition, etc., right? Next comes the psychosocial factors. Now, psychosocial factors is our EQ. Okay, our emotional quotient. I'm sure you must have heard of these terms. IQ is your intelligence quotient. EQ is your emotional quotient. So, how much emotionally aware you are of yourself, how much emotional security you have. Okay, then attachment, stimulations, attachment to someone, our relationships, or maybe how how well someone can handle trauma. And this is very much common when we are in this particular age group, the adulthood age group, or even the late adulthood, right? So these are all your psychosocial factors. Next comes our cultural and economic factors. So yes, even things very very important, and these are the factors which might be overlooked, but yes, they play a very important role in development. So access to healthcare. So someone who does not have proper access to healthcare might not be able to develop fully. So again, development is not just that you are growing in height, growing in weight. It's not just quantitative. It's also what all skills you are able to accommodate, what how you're able to develop cognitively, how you're able to develop emotionally. That is your development. So yes, even access to healthcare, sanitation. So if a person is not living in good conditions, so if you look at those impoverished individuals, or those underprivileged people who don't have access to a good healthcare system, who don't have access to proper clean environment, so their development, if and there are even research studies on this, many long term studies have been done, wherein when you compare their development or their IQ levels or their EQ levels with someone who has access to all the good things, then there are stark differences, right? And yeah, so the learning environment where you are, and the cultural practices which are there in a particular culture, all of those affect the development of an individual. So cultural practices over here. Now if I talk about, so again, a person can be a part of a particular community. So in that particular case, that particular community would be having some of their own traditions or some of their own principles, which will influence how the individual grows into. And sometimes we have, like, sometimes we are not a part of a community, or we do not follow the cultures of a particular community, but we have our own definition of a particular culture. That is known as individualism, having our own identity, having our own definition of a particular culture. So in short, the cultural practices which comes under your cultural and economic factors, these 2 points, they can affect human development. So again, you have your BEPC, biological factors, environmental factors, psychosocial factors, and cultural and economic factors, which will influence the development process, right? Okay. Now, can anyone answer this particular question? Okay, wait, let me just show you. Ah, okay. So this is an assertion reasoning question. Okay. Assertion says that heredity, okay, read the question very carefully. Assertion says that heredity determines the maximum potential of a child's height. Okay, done. Now, the reason says that environmental factors like nutrition can limit or enhance this potential. So, what do you think would be the correct answer for this? Anyone? Now the technique is, first you write whether assertion is true or false, then you write whether reason is true or false, and then you relate both assertion and reasoning, right? So now try to attempt this. It's a good question. Heredity means your genes, okay, your genetics. So if
A, ma'am.
hmm yes.
Both A and R are true, and
Hmm.
R explains A.
Right, exactly. So it's option number A, that is both A and R are true, and R is very well explaining A. Now, why? See, assertion says heredity determines the maximum potential of a child's height, which is true because whatever are your genes, okay, which you inherit from your parents, so genetic factors will set an upper limit of the potential range for an individual's height. Though in some cases, you must have seen the children, like they are taller than their parents, but that is again in very like few cases. But usually when we talk about heredity, then yes, it will be able to tell what is the maximum potential a child will reach in terms of height. Now the reason says that environmental factors like nutrition can either limit or enhance this potential. So yes, all of us have studied nutrition, and we know that nutrition, it plays a key role, okay, in your like in a child's height or in a child's weight. So here they're asking you whether this statement is true reason. Then yes, the reason is true because just now we have studied that your nutrition is again an environmental and an important factor which can limit or enhance the potential. Now again, in these type of questions, okay, where they are asking you whether the reason is explaining assertion or not, try to pick out the common words. So because some of you have asked me like how to answer these ANR questions. Now if I do one thing, if I read both of these statements, I know both of them are true. Now I have to figure out whether my reason is able to explain my assertion or not. Now if I read them carefully, I can pick out a common term, that is potential and potential, which means both the statements are talking about the same thing, right? And my R is actually explaining the potential point, that whether a child will be able to reach maximum height or not, that would indirectly or directly be influenced by the environmental factors. And that is why yes, as someone rightly said right now in our class, that both A and R are true, and R explains your assertion. So try to pick out the common words if you feel stuck in such type of questions, right? And also some of you were asking the mock test score. So yes, so by night all of you will get your scorecard, okay, how much have you scored, and along with the answers. And again, try to improvise, right? You have time now, I feel, and you can reread those terms and topics where you feel confused, right? Okay. Now okay, so before coming to theories of human development, let us do few questions, right? Just a minute, because theories of human development are a lot of theories which I would like to cover in a separate class. So just a minute. Yeah. Okay. So let's come to the PYQ. So in this particular PPT, so on the drive folder, you will find a PDF. This is a PPT which I'm using to teach you, but it's the same thing. When I have to ask you questions, I remove the answers, right? Yeah, so let's look at, okay. This is a very, very simple question. If you look at question number 79. Okay. Arrange the following in the order of lifespan development. So they have given you options like adolescence, then they have given you senescence. So as I told you, what is the meaning of senescence? Anyone? Meaning of senescence?
From old age?
Yes, so yeah, you can say that yes, the meaning of senescence is your old age, and sometimes senescence we also refer to this particular term in terms of human development as the age group, or you can say as the process of retirement. So in few of the textbooks, not Arihant, but if you are referring to Truman or other textbooks, they have used an alternate term for senescence, that is retirement, because generally we relate retirement to an old age. But yes, remember, senescence refers to your old age, so that is why you should know these terms. Okay, sometime UGC might not give you, directly from the textbook, right? Okay, so now you have to arrange them in their chronological orders. Okay, anyone try to do this? Anyone?
Option B, ma'am.
Option number which? Can you repeat?
D. D, ma'am.
D,
D.
D, right. Okay, so let's try to do this. So first we have the prenatal period, right? So immediately I can eliminate option number A, eliminate option number B. Now after my prenatal period, there is infancy. Just now we studied. So C would come after D. Now see again, this is how they will confuse you. In both the option, they will give you similar points, right? Yeah. Anyone wants to say something?
Option D.
Huh. Option B or D?
D. D. D,
D. Yeah.
ma'am.
Correct. Yes. Yes. Very good. So it's option D only. Now after infancy comes our childhood stage, right? Remember Pika? We talked about that term Pika. So now after infancy is my childhood stage. Now, okay, which means option number E. Now, after childhood comes our adolescence. This will be my fourth one. So, option A, yeah, this particular option. And after my adolescence, I have my old age. So, here the very simple trick, though I know all of you know the meaning of senescence, but here they have given you the term senescence, which refers to old age. So, again, a very, very simple question from lifespan development, which all of you would be able to do, right? Okay, now see this question again. They have given. We have talked about this in communication, and even in this particular unit, we'll be talking about the zone of proximal development theory, which has been given by Vygotsky, right? Okay, now again, really good question. Let me first remove the. Okay, I'm not removing the answer. Leave it like that. But I want you to just go through it once, so that when I give you this for like after the session, all of you can able to do this. Now here they're asking you what are the characteristics of adolescent thinking. Right. So, though this is a part of your another subunit where we will talk about adolescence in detail, but if you look at these terms, okay, egocentrism, we have talked about, okay, imaginary audience, okay, personal fable, illusion of vulnerability, illusion of invulnerability. Why I'm discussing this question? So that because just now we talked about one characteristic of adolescence. So when we come to this topic, you will be able to attempt this, and now you should know that this is how they will give you question. A particular age group they will give you, and then they will ask you the characteristics of that particular age group, right? Okay, now again, very good question. Question number 25. Here they have directly asked you that the development period beginning in the late teens or your early 20s and lasting through the 30s. So what is that development period? Anyone wants to answer this?
Middle adolescence.
Okay. Anyone else? Late teens or early 20s. Okay, now see, late teens, you can say 18 years of age. Okay, that is the age when your adolescence is ending, if you remember that table which I showed you. And then they are saying early 20s. Early 20s means, again, which stage do you think would be, whether it's early adulthood or it's middle adulthood? See, if you are in the 18 to the 30 age group, ideally, and if you look at this particular question, then you are in your early adulthood stage, right? This is again important. See, this is middle adolescence. late adolescence. Obviously we are not talking about this because they have mentioned early 20s. Okay, so that is why I told you that the age group of each and every stage, or the each and every development period, is important to answer such type of a questions. Again, don't worry, when you go back and revise the notes, then you will be able to answer this particular question. Or when we talk about middle adulthood is something which will start in your 40s. Okay, so that is your middle adulthood, and then you have your late adulthood, right? So again, a very important question. And then we have another question on human development. Okay, where they have asked us what are the different factors. So indirectly they have asked you the factors mainly, which will determine, or which will, you can say, influence your human development. So anyone wants to attempt this? Just try to attempt. Even if it's wrong, it's completely fine. We are all learning over here, right? Very, very simple.
Ma'am, option D.
Yes, option number D, right? So your biological factors, almost all your factors, right? Biological factors, your cognitive factors also they have mentioned over here, a new term. Cognitive, again, how you're thinking, your how that you can say how arithmetic development is taking place, or how you are able to process your thoughts. That all cognitive development is influencing the development process, and your socio emotional process. So yes, all of these biological, cognitive, and socio emotional factors will influence the development process. So usually from here we get very simple questions. The questions are not that difficult. Okay, now there's one more question, one last question which I wanted to show you before we end. Slide number 22, I guess. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So see, you have questions. Just a minute. So you even have questions from the development disorders. So as I told you, the development disorders are another topic which we'll be talking about, right? Okay, I think we are done with the important ones. Few questions I would like to give. Yeah, so let's look at this particular question. The major principles that govern growth. Now again, in this particular question they have given you two more principles. Okay, few principles we have already done, but few principles are there which were not in our syllabus, but again we have to do them. Why? Because they are in your PYQs, and trust me, it's not very difficult. If you look into these terms, and if you are able to understand what the meaning of these terms are, you will easily be able to guess that whether these principles are there or not in the context of growth, right? Now over here, if you read at the question, they're asking you the major principles that govern growth, right? But in our syllabus we have like what we were discussing was the major principles of development, but you can associate those principles with growth also. Why? Because as we just read, that development will also include a quantitative part, that is growth. So development will include growth as well, along with the abilities and skills which you acquire as you go through the lifespan, right? So there is this principle of hierarchical integration. Now this principle of hierarchical integration, okay, for first of all, just want to know, does anyone have any idea from the term hierarchical integration? Okay, very simple. See, whatever growth or development will take place, it will take place in a particular order, right? First of all, as we know, a child will learn to hold a pen, or a child will learn to grasp an object first, right? And later the child will gradually learn how to write, or the child will learn how to leave that object. So hierarchical integration means that there will be a particular hierarchy in which a child will first learn a simple skill. Okay, obviously you cannot teach a child a very complex skill, right? Even when you teach a child, so if you have seen any child, as I told you before, in your surroundings, first the child will learn very very simple skills, and then the child will learn to do those skills independently. So when you train the child to go to washroom or how to use the toilet, first the child will need assistance of mother or a guardian or any family member. Later, as the child develops, the child will learn to basically go to the washroom or use the toilet independently or separately. So this is how the principle of hierarchy integration states that the development process will take place in a particular hierarchy, and even the growth process will take place in a particular hierarchy. So what I felt when I looked at this question was that they should have mentioned over here, instead of growth, they should have mentioned over here development, right? Okay. Next comes principle of the independence of system. But no, okay, just a minute. They are asking you the major principles that govern growth. Okay. Yeah, so in this particular case, I don't think the option which is being marked is the correct answer. Why? Because just now we have read the principle of the independence of systems. In this, again, it's not that a particular system or a particular skill which a child will develop will be independent of any other skill. So let me do one thing. Let me again cross check, because this is given in your PYQ book as well as in the UGC answer key. Because if like those of you who have attempted UGC net before, you must be knowing sometimes the answer keys are not correct, and that's the reason why I shared that question on our group on the communication topic, wherein that question which was asking you about treatment, right? Remember, I think some of you even asked me on the chat that treatment is a part of which communication model. So as for the UGC net key, it states another model, but in actual the answer was the Ligon's model, right? So again, similarly, I feel there is some discrepancy in this question, so I'll just mark it to review, and let's get back to this. But anyways, let's understand another principle, right? Principle of independence of system. So again, this is not a primary principle which will govern your growth, because this question is asking you only about growth. So how can we associate development principles with it, right? Definitely, you can associate cephalocaudal principle, you can associate proximodistal principle. So I think ideally A and B should be the correct answer. Even, yeah, even principle of hierarchy integration we can talk about, because when growth is taking place, we know that there is a particular hierarchy, there will be a particular order, okay, in which a child will grow. So according to me, I think it should be option number A, B and C. But let me just cross check with the team what they have put the answer over here. Okay, so I will share this on group, but let's not come to a conclusion that option A is the correct choice, right? Now again, coming to principle of independence of system, which means that, see, different body systems of a person or of a child will develop at different rates. So it's not that if the hands are developing at a faster rate, then the legs will also develop at that particular rate. So every system or every particular body organ, or any particular skill with the child is learning, or be it your emotional skill, be it learning a language, or be it any particular system of a child, it will develop at their own rate, and all of those will be independent of each other. So this is known as your principle of independence of systems. So don't worry, I'll add the notes for this in this particular slide as well. But don't come to the conclusion on option number A, because I feel this is wrong, right? So this we will review. Okay. Now there is another interesting question from our UGC net PYQs, which gives us the stages of prenatal development, and we have to match them with the features, right? For this particular topic, the PDF has not been uploaded, but if you can see, I will share this with you along with an image. So when we talk about just 5 minutes more I will take, right? So when we talk about the stages of prenatal development, right, that is the time between conception and birth, that is your prenatal development. Pre means before birth, that is conception and birth. This is your time which you need to remember. Now, if you have again, if you remember your physiology notes or your pregnancy notes, then there are different stages. Okay, now, usually, few textbooks mention conception as a stage, few do not, but definitely we know that conception is the first stage, right? After conception comes the germinal stage. Now, this germinal stage is a 2 week period after conception. So, here you have to remember the important features of every stage, right? So, it's a 2 week period. In this particular period, basically what will happen, so firstly, uh, as soon as conception takes place, okay, a sperm cell will combine with an egg cell. We all know it will create a zygote, right? And once that conception takes place, the zygote has been implanted in the mother's fallopian tubes. Again, basic physiology which we all know. Then slowly and slowly, so once the implantation is done, slowly and slowly, now there will be development of tissues. Okay, there will be development of placenta in your germinal stage. And we also know the function of placenta. Placenta is important for passing oxygen, for passing nutrient supplements, right, from the mother's blood into the embryo or the fetus. And plasma will also play an important role in removing the waste material. This is very simple, just like your physiology lessons, right? So remember one very important thing. Key point of our germinal stage is the development of the placenta, right? And between these conception to germinal stage, what is taking place? The zygote is being implanted in the fallopian tube. That is where the implantation takes place, right? After the germinal stage, we have the embryonic stage. Right now, embryonic stage, in this particular stage, there will be development of cells, there will be development of all your major organs, right? So again, all your major organs, they will start developing, right? And in this particular stage, now remember we talked about teratogens, okay? And just one of you told me that yes, teratogenous, these can be any agent, any drug, even the radiation, which can cause any sort of a congenital deformity in an embryo or a fetus. So this particular stage, so if they ask you in which stage of prenatal development, the teratogens are more likely to be of a danger. So that is your embryonic stage, in which these teratogens are very much dangerous, right? So again, very much simple. In embryonic stage, the major organs are being formed. Next we have is the fetal stage. Now, fetal stage is the final stage of your prenatal development, which will keep going on from 2 months after conception until birth. So, until the birth of the child, okay, there will be this fetal stage. Now, again, in this fetal stage, now see what happened in your embryonic stage. In your embryonic stage, first of all, the cells started to develop. Okay, and if I go more into the detailed biology, then you must have heard of blastocyst, right? All these terms, right? And all your major organs are gradually forming. In the fetal stage, all of your embryos bones are quickly developed, they take shape, muscles develop. Now the mother can actually feel the embryo inside the uterus. So the child starts the infant, or I must say the embryo starts to move. So the embryo starts to kick, right? So organ systems are developing very very fast in this particular embryo stage. Your brain, the brain of the child is increasing quickly, and that is why this particular statement is very important, because UGC has given a question from here itself, that which organ grows very quickly in size in an infant or in an embryo. So it's the brain, always remember. And even in your PYQs, there's one question I'll share with you. So yes, the brain will increase quickly in size, and you know um, all the other systems like the digestive system, the respiratory system, all of these will start to work properly. So this is your fetal stage, and these are your main stages. you can call it as a 3 stage or a 4 stage if you are considering conception, right? This is again some extra information. If you want to, you can go through this, but not needed. Yeah, this is something which we need to know. The duration, okay, 0 to 2 weeks is our germinal stage, embryonic stage, and finally we have the fetal stage. And just remember what are the key characteristics. I'm sure this is an easy topic for us. Why? Because we know about human physiology, we have done in our masters, and even when we study about pregnancy nutrition, these are the basics. And now once you know this, I'll share this on group. All of you should try to attempt, though the answer is marked, it's okay. Don't look at the answer. So now all of you will be easily able to attempt this particular question, where they have given us the three different stages: embryonic, germinal, and fetal stage, and we have to match with the correct option, right? So I hope this is clear to everyone. If you have any doubt, please tell me. This question, as I told you, we will review it again. Anyone, any doubt? Let me see who all are there today. Okay, someone has written something. Okay. Okay, good to see everyone is answering. See, trust me, this is not a very difficult unit. You all will really enjoy it. Yes, there are things to learn, but few things you already know, right? You just have to, again, refresh those concepts and learn new names. Okay. So if there's not any doubt, let's end the class today. Okay, and
Ma'am,
yeah, yes, Surbi.
ma'am, in today's class, there was one question in which
Mm-hmm.
there was the uh, holding of a glass and
Yes, yes,
uh,
yes. Yeah,
the
so that,
buttons, closing
yes,
of
so
the
that
buttons.
question, right? Wait,
Yes,
wait.
ma'am.
This question, okay, I remember. That question I told you I'll give you for homework, right? Okay, wait.
Yes,
This one, right? Huh.
yes, ma'am.
So
So,
you have,
ma'am, both of them will be the examples of cephalocaudal principle.
okay, you're asking me or you're telling me?
Ma'am, I'm asking you.
Mm-hmm.
L-
You want to
Because,
know both of them would be example or not?
yes, ma'am.
So see, this is so okay, Surbi, right?
Yes,
Surbi. So here you're asking me that whether cephalocaudal and proximodistal, both of them will be the correct answer or not, right?
for
Hmm.
proximodistal, I'm saying yes, ma'am. For proximodistal, the
Hmm.
both will be the examples of proximodistal.
Yeah.
That is from the center
Right,
to
right.
outwards,
Extremely.
extremes.
Yes, yes. So you're telling me the answer. Yeah, you're very much right, Surbi. The answer would be proximodistal development. And how will you answer this? You have to break these two sentences. First, consider a child holding a glass of water. Okay, and then you'd consider a child buttoning the shirt. So yes, you have caught this very rightly, that this is they have given a single sentence, but actually when we are answering this question, we have to break them into two different sentences. So we have to first visualize a child holding a glass of water before, then this is the second statement, he or she could button the shirt. So this question is again for everyone to think over once. So that is why we didn't discuss, but it's good that you pointed this out. So many of
Yes,
you
ma'am.
might think it's cephalocaudal, many of you might think it's proximodistal. Okay, many of you might think it's both, right? So try to
Yep.
attempt this question today. I will be sharing this on WhatsApp, and then let's discuss tomorrow what would be the answer. So though we have discussed the answer, but still try to think why that particular thing would be an option, right?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to like say that both of them are the examples of proximodistal principle only. It's
Huh.
just that the buttoning of the shirt is more complex. So the
Hmm.
child will so the child first will hold the glass before
Hmm.
buttoning the
The
shirt.
the shirt,
That's
right? Yes,
yes,
exactly.
ma'am.
Because buttoning a shirt will require some fine motor skills also, na. So
Yes,
that is
ma'am.
why. Yes, you're right, Surabhi.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
welcome. Yeah, so let's, if anyone does not have any doubt, we can end the session now. And let's meet tomorrow. And after the class ends, I'll upload the Word document on the stages of prenatal development along with the recording as well as the PYQs, right? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.